Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining today's session. So we are into our 10th session today, and we will be discussing about a very important topic for us in Java, that is classes and objects. So give me a second. Oh, this one, quit. Okay. So we are into our 10th class today, which is a very important class, as I have previously told you. So let's quickly write down the agenda for our next class, which is today. Okay, so we are into our 10th class. Just give me a second, please. Okay, so we are into our 10th class today. And what is our topic for today? Our topic for today is classes and objects. If you remember, I think I'm not sure how many people of
Karthik,
you.
is your screen visible to everyone? For me, it is not visible.
Uh, so people can actually reply. I'm not able to see the messages.
Guys, can
Especially,
you please reply in WhatsApp?
yeah.
WhatsApp to me saying that you are visible or not screen. Visible, yes, yes, it's visible. You can continue.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. Thank you for the confirmation, guys. Let me continue. Okay, so we are dealing with classes and objects. This is a very important topic for learning Java. Like I can say this is the base. So if you remember, I think a month back where our first free session was on classes and objects. Okay, then we had spoken about inheritance or some other topics, etc. But you know, I do not want to overlap, or I do not want to consider the people have already joined that or not, etc. So with a clear mind, or with a fresh mind, you can start, listening to whatever I say, so that you can grasp everything that I wanted to inject into your head. Okay. So I want to say, I want to speak a little bit about the classes and objects. Okay. Whenever you say, or whenever you speak about Java, people say that it is a object-oriented programming language, which is OOPS. Okay, I can say OOPS, which is object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming language. Java is an object-oriented programming language. See, there are debates that is Java fully object-oriented programming language? Is it a partially object-oriented programming language? Now, with Java 8, is it an object-oriented programming language, or is it a functional programming language? So there are various other things that go around in various online forums. So you know, it's really not needed to prove what kind of language it is, or what kind of, is it functional, is it object oriented, etc., etc. The only thing that is required is you have to learn all these concepts. Even though, you know, Java is a partially object oriented programming language, that doesn't mean that, you need not have knowledge on OOPS principles. Okay, you should have, and this topic is very, very important in an interview perspective, and this topic is even very important for you to actually even write simple programs, right? When you become a programmer, or if in your day-to-day coder's life, right, we use this object-oriented programming principles for almost every line that we write in Java. So it carries that much importance. So with this, I'll not speak more about this theoretically. Let me try to just open or give you some basic things of what we will be dealing today. Okay, let me quickly write down. This is our general practice. What is our general practice? We generally write down our agenda every day before we dive into just a second, before we dive into what we will be learning, right? So something like this. So our agenda will be very, very simple today. Our agenda will be very, very simple today. So we'll be speaking about what is class, and then we will be speaking about what is object. Okay, we will be speaking about how to create an object, how to create an object, and then how to call or invoke instance variables or methods. Guys, we have spoken about the static methods and static variables, static members. Okay, they are class level members. But we are just before I actually give you some theory, there are a few rules. There are 4 to 5 rules or 7 to 8 rules that I spoke about the static variables, static members. So similarly, there are rules for object or instance members. Anything that does not have static is called as an instance method or instance variable. That is what I have already spoken to you about. But instead of going with all those rules and confusing you, I want to first cover what these are, and in our later parts we will be speaking about what are the important rules that we need to consider about the instance methods or instance variables. So without even taking a little bit break, we will go into our material. Okay. So this one, by the way, I'll be giving it to you. I think I'll be giving it to you. So I want to speak something about some real world examples. So we see a few real world examples every day in our day-to-day life. What I want to say is, let's say you see a pencil, you see an apple, you see a book, you see a bag, you see a board, etc., etc. Anything that is there or that is visible to you, you can think it to be an object. It is an analogous to a Java object. Apple, if you write, Apple is something that is an object or that you can see in the real world. Okay, so you can think it to be a Java object. Okay, pencil, you can think it to be a Java object. Book, you can think to be a Java object, and bag or board, whatever that you can see, feel, and touch. All these things uh, are some things that you can relate to Java objects. But then what are the classes? What are the classes? I will just come down and show you to you a simple example of a class. Okay. What is a class? Okay. Class is something that is a blueprint. Okay. Class is something like a blueprint. Now, before I even come to this example, I want to just, speak about some other generic or some other example. Let's say, for example, let's say you want to construct a home. Okay. You want to construct a home. You are planning for a 2 BHK or a 3 BHK. Okay. Or let's say you are inquiring some real estate agents about some home. They will show you some plans. Okay, sir, this is my plan. Here there is a kitchen. Here there is a washroom. Here there is a bedroom. Here there is a living. And there are 2 balconies. Okay, is it facing east, west? What is the cost, etc.? All these things. So these are something they are showing those plans because they are not showing the actual flat to you. They are not showing the actual house or apartment to you. Okay, they're just representing or showing it on a piece of paper, saying that, sir, this is how it will come. It is a blueprint. This is how your house will look after it gets constructed. So you can think that diagram is something like a class. Okay, it's something like a class. Then what is an object, sir? Object is your home, because using that plan only your home gets constructed. In that plan, if it has 2 bedrooms, in your actual object, which means in your home, also there will be 2 bedrooms, because using that plan only we are constructing the object, which is the home. This is one analogous example. Now let me give you just one more example. Okay, if I just come down, okay, if I just come down, this is something like a blueprint. Okay, this is something like a blueprint. Okay, some guy, some mechanical engineer, okay, has written some class called car. Okay, it has a blueprint. Okay, he's saying that there are properties like color, price, kilometer, model, etc. And what are the other things? What are the properties of this class? And then what are the methods that a class can have? Like, for example, the car can start, it can move backward if you put a back gear, it can move forward if you accelerate by putting it in the first gear. Okay, it will stop when you brake. Okay, this is something that is a generic or general behavior of a class. But what is an object? Taking this general behavior, the object is something that gets constructed. For example, let's say a company like Audi or a Maruti Suzuki or Ford or Hyundai or whatever is the car making company, they'll take this blueprint. All their set of engineers will sit and say, oh, okay, let's paint it in red. Let's put the price to be some 23,000. This is maybe dollars, not rupees. Okay. The kilometers driven are something like this. The model is an Audi, etc., etc. So the thing that I wanted to stress out is something that is written on paper, something that is not really existing is a class, and something that is taken as an inspiration from that piece written on paper and actually constructed is called as an object. Okay, so this is how you can correlate the Java class and object to some outside principles, or you can say the outside whatever you can actually able to see. Now let's quickly go to a few official examples of class and object. In an interview, if somebody asks what is a class, or if somebody asks what is an object, if you say all the story that I have told you, they will get impressed. Fine, okay, this guy knows the concept, but it should be told in a proper way. Like you should give the proper definitions. Only then you get what do you call you'll pass the interview. So this is very important that we need to understand the official documentation or official explanations of class and object. So I'd like to quickly tell you a few things about class and object. Let me quickly, let me quickly just go on an overview of whatever we are going to learn today. So that is, first thing is, what is a class? As I told you, class is something that can be written on a piece of paper. And if that class gets constructed, converted, then that becomes an object. So let's see the official, what I can say, the definitions of class. So these are a few definitions of class. Class is a template for object. So as I have given you some template, what is that? An engineer draws a diagram for your apartment, that becomes a template. Okay, that is a class. And using that template only, you build your apartment or you build your individual. Okay. Now, class is a blueprint. This is one more example or one more definition. Class is a pattern or specification which we can define, with which we can define the functionality. Class is a logical entity, and class does not exist physically. This is what I have been telling in a different patterns or formats. Okay. Now, there is one more. By using class, we can actually create the objects. The same thing which I have been telling in the analogy of the apartment. Okay. So let's quickly go to our next one. What is an object? Using the blueprint, we can create an object. That is what I have been telling you. And I think you should be able to correlate to whatever I said. Now let's actually see the official definitions. Okay. By using class, we can create objects. Yes. By using that plan only, I can build my apartment. By using that plan only, I can build my what do you call individual home. By using that car, that initial sketch only, the actual engineers can build the car, they build the Audi car in the example that I've given you. Objects contain all the properties of the class. In my car example, I told you that there are some properties like what is the color, what is the price, etc. All these become properties of the class. Now, whatever properties we define in the class, the objects are acquiring all the properties from class. So whatever we define in the class only, those properties will be taken into the objects. This also you can correlate to the example that I have given in the car. Okay. Object exists physically. So that is what I told you. Your apartment exists physically. Your Audi car exists physically. But the print, even though you see it on a piece of paper, okay, it doesn't exist physically. Okay. The same goes with the house plan. Now, an object is an instance of a class. This is very important definition. Okay, because generally we as programmers, we say that object is an instance of a class. Whenever we say something called object, we interchangeably use instance. Okay. Whenever I say this is an instance, which means I'm referring that this is an object. So object and instance, you can use interchangeably. If you say instance, it is object. If you say object, it is instance. Okay. So these are a few definitions. By the way, I'll be sharing these definitions with you, and these are important for you to understand. Let me give you just one more real-time example so that you can correlate even better. Okay, so that you can correlate even better. Okay, so what is a real-time example? Let's say you are working in any software company. Okay, let's say you're working in Infosys or you're working in TCS, or let's say you're working in any software company, and now your software company every year wants to conduct a few health checkups for the employees. Okay, that may be a part of the employee well-being program. Okay, so for that, you know, your security person or some admin people, they come to you and say, sir, please fill this form. Okay, I will give you this form. But for them to do that, what they need to do, they need to create this blueprint. They need to create this blueprint. Okay, they will write something on a Word document, and then what they will say is, maybe they take some 100 they go to a Xerox shop and they take 100 copies of the same. Okay, which means which means they have initially they have created a particular blueprint. That blueprint, when they print it on a piece of paper, then that becomes an object. Okay, that becomes an object. Initially, it was just a design. Okay, they were thinking, let's take these details from employee. Okay, now when they print it on a piece of paper, then that becomes an object. That object they're giving to each employee. Now, this is a blank over here. You can see this is a blank. Now, let's say it is coming to you. The person will actually fill, okay, my employee ID is 101. My name is maybe, let's say, Mercy, and my company is Mercy Technologies. Okay, if I print, then actually I am instantiating, or I can say initializing the object with the values that I want, and that I will fill and I will give back, which means the object that I am given with default values will be overwritten by the values that I want to write. Okay, so this is a simple day-to-day example that we can correlate to the object. Okay. Now, let me just see. Now, what happens is these papers are distributed to different employees. One guy maybe writes his ID is 100, his name is Mercy, and his company is Google. Okay. There is another employee who writes his ID as 20, name is Angel, and then company is IBM. And then let's say there is one more employee who writes it is 300, Joseph, and Apple. Maybe you can think that this is not a particular software company. Maybe these guys are handed over the papers and they are asked to go to a particular shop to submit all this, like particular what do you call, a diagnostic center to submit all this. So which means there are various objects that get created, and every piece of paper that the employee is holding becomes an object. The initial thinking that was there, right, that they have, that is called as a blueprint, and that is a class. But these are objects. Okay. So this is the real world example for us to understand what is a class and what is an object. Okay. Now let's see, what does a class contain? Let's see, what does a class contain? But before this, before I flood your brain with the additional information, I just want to tell you that class is nothing but the one that you have already seen by now. Okay, the one that you have already seen by now. We have written so many classes, by the way, guys. This is a class called variable. Okay, this is a class called variable 2. This we have already seen. This is something called my class 1. This is something called SIB1. Okay, this was the class that we have discussed yesterday, which is Mercy class 1. So I just want to tell you that whatever I'm telling you theoretically till now, those things you are already aware, because we have discussed about these terms called class. Okay, we have discussed about these terms called class. Now, I would like to take a very small example before I even go further. I want to select the language as Java and I want to say class. Okay. Maybe I want to name my class as example. Okay. I want to name my class as example. I'm opening my curly brace and I'm closing my curly brace. Okay. In our previous analogous example, what we have seen is class will contain two things. Okay. Class will contain two things. What is that? That is variables, not just previous examples, whatever programs that we have written till now, it contains two things, which is variables and the other is methods. People call them sometimes as people call them sometimes as data members. Okay. And then they call us member functions. Okay. So people call them as data members and member functions, but this is a official definition, by the way. What is a class? It is a combination of data members and member functions. But let's not bang our brain with all these new terminology. Let's only go with the simple ones. Okay. A class contains a variables. Class contains methods. For now, we just keep this in mind. Let's quickly go to the PPT once more. Okay. Let's quickly go to the PPT once more. Okay. What is a class containing, by the way? Let's see. Let's see. What does it contain? Class is a collection of data members and methods. The same thing that I have been telling you. Data members is nothing but the properties of the variables, and the methods are something. It is the class is containing these two things. Okay. So, by the way, before I go here, I just want to show you. Maybe I just want to show you. I just want to show you our variable one example that we have already written, and I see many people have practiced this program also. Here, if you see, okay, let me not confuse you. There is something called static and instance. Let me not go back to that point, guys. Okay, let me continue with this one only, and I'll come back to that point in a while. Okay, so class is a collection of data members and member functions or methods. We call it something like that. And then this is the syntax. So what is the syntax? Class name, and then we have an open brace and a closed curly brace. The same thing. Okay, we have open curly brace and a closed curly brace, class and the class name. Okay, so this we already know. Or let's take the notes. Let's take the notes because we are learning specifically about class. Okay, class. And what is the syntax? Okay, what is the syntax? I'll quickly come, I'll copy this part, and I will say, this is my syntax. Okay, this is my syntax. Sorry. Okay, this is my syntax. So what is my syntax? Let me cut this and put it above here. Yeah. So what is my syntax for the class? It is a class name. It is not example. I can say class name, class name, and then it contains variables and methods. Example is the one that we are actually speaking about. I will copy my example. This is an example, and I put an example over here. Okay, I'll put an example. Okay, this is an example. This is the syntax which I'll be sharing with you. Okay, this is very clear. We have been speaking about the same thing since quite some time. Let's just proceed further. Okay, let's just proceed further. I want to speak a little bit more about what a class contains. So as I told you, it contains data members, which is nothing but, in other words, we call them as variables. Okay, we call them as variables. And what else? It contains methods. Okay, it contains methods. Let me just quickly go to the next section. We will quickly see one example. Okay, we will quickly see one example so that we can code the same. Okay, what I want to create a class called employee. Okay, so before I just go to this part, I would like to come back to this example of an employee. Okay, of an employee. If I come down, yeah, I want to quickly come to this example of an employee. Okay, so what is this employee form? This is what that we have actually seen. Okay, this we know that this employee form is an this is a blueprint, and when it gets printed, that becomes an object. Okay, this employee form has ID, it contains name, and it contains company. Okay, so now I just want to write a class with this details. Okay, write a class with this details. Let me quickly go back to my PPT so that you will actually see this. What is this? Int ID, string name, and string company. The same thing, int ID, string name, and string company. Because generally, IDs of the employee ID is something that you can correlate with your roll number. Okay, employee ID is something that you can correlate with your roll number, and this roll number is a digit, right? Generally, so that is why we have given integer. Okay, and then string name and then string company. If I just go to one, these are data members, or like I can say what are the methods. I want to write a simple method now. Okay, what is this method, by the way? This method is something called display name. I want to display some name. I want to take a little a short notes over here, guys. Okay, I want to take a short notes over here. What is that? Previously or till now, we have spoken about static keyword, right? If let me give a let me give a this thing. If a method or does not contain static keyword, then it is called as instance method or instance variable. This is very important for you to consider, guys. If you see our previous example, which I told you that I'll come back. If you see here, this is a static method. Why is a static? The main is a static method. Why is main a static method? This is because we have a keyword called static. Okay. Now, if I go to one more example that we have dealt just yesterday. Okay. This again is a static method. At the end, at the end, at the end, we have written, let's say there is one more program that you guys have already practiced, which is static init age. Okay, and then there is if I go here, it is containing static as the keyword, right? It is containing static as the keyword. So this becomes a static method that I have already explained about the rules, etc., etc. Now, in my example, I am not having static keyword. The same thing that I want to highlight over here. There is no static. Okay, for int, there is no static. For string, there is no static, and company, there is no static. Okay, when I say no static, then actually I mean is they are per instance. They are per instance or they are per variable. So those are called as instance method or instance variables. I want to just quickly even come back to one example that I've given. Every student has a pen and paper with them, right? Every student has a pen and a book. That is per student, but there is a blackboard which is common to all the students. Similarly, every employee has an ID, every employee has a unique name, every employee has a unique company. Okay. Company may be the same, name may be the same, but that's fine. But that belongs to this particular employee only. Okay. But for example, let's say there is an office, right? Every employee goes to the same office. Okay, so what I want to actually say is, since we are not having static to any of these data members or methods, data methods, okay, these are called as uh, instance variables or instance methods. Okay, this is something that you need to actually remember that I have already taken as a notes. If the method or variable does not contain static keyword, then that is called as instance method or instance variable. Okay, let me quickly go. Let me quickly go to my PPT once more. So what is this? There is a class called employee. There is ID, name, and company. And I have a method called display name, and I have written something like this. Okay. So I just want to revise whatever I told you till now. These are called as non-static variables or instance variable. Why do we call it as non-static? Because there is no keyword called static. Okay. And if there is nothing called static, then that becomes an instance variable. The same thing that I want to highlight once more. These are called as non-static methods or instance methods. These are called as non-static methods and or instance methods. Why are they called non-static methods or instance methods? Because there is no keyword called static. Okay, there is no keyword called static. Now, what I want to quickly do, till now, I have actually seen this, right? Let me quickly write that class. Okay, let me quickly write that class. Okay. So let's quickly go to our Notepad++. By the way, guys, almost this would be the last but one or last but two classes that I'll be using this Notepad++. And after this, we'll be quickly jumping into IntelliJ, which is an IDE. IDE is nothing but integrated development environment, where this compilation, running, etc., would be taken care by that software only. But yeah, I'll be telling you about all these details in the upcoming section. Okay, so you can use Eclipse or IntelliJ. I will be using IntelliJ in our projects. So if you are comfortable using Eclipse, if you already know how to use Eclipse, then you are very welcome, because there's no problem whatsoever. Both would be similar. It's only a choice of choosing the software. Okay. So let me quickly write one class for you. What is that class? By the way, I have already selected this class as Java. Okay, fine. Now, what do I want to name my classes? It is employee. Okay, this is called as employee. I have a class called employee. I'm opening my curly brace. I'm closing my curly brace. Okay, that's it. So what is my blueprint saying? There is int ID, string name, string company. Let me do it. What is that? Int ID, int string name, string company. Okay, string company. There are three properties. Okay, and what do we call these? I've told that to you in our PPT. I've told that to you in our PPT. What are these called? Non-static variables or instance variable. These are called as non-static method or instance method. Let me quickly write this down. I can write this as instance variables. These are called as instance variables. I want to quickly write one instance method also. What is that? Instance method. Instance method. So what do I want to name my method as? I want to name it as display name. What is this? Public void display name. Okay. If you remember, in our naming conventions to the method, what we told, it starts with a small letter and it continues with it continues in the camel case. And in our naming convention to our class, what we said, the class starts with capital letter and it continues in the camel case. Okay. So with that rule that we have already learned, I named it as display name. So what do I want to do? I just want to print something here. System dot out dot println. What do I want to print? Let me quickly go here. I want to print my name is, and then I want to print my name. So I can say my name is, or I will say plus. Okay. So something like this. The same thing that I have written over here. So now I have a class which is like a blueprint. That's it. It is just a blueprint. There's nothing new or nothing old to it. So I have written my blueprint called employee. I said that every employee should have an ID, every employee should have a name, every employee should have a company. Okay, every employee should have an ID, every employee should have a name, every employee should have a company. This is what I have written. So what do I want to do? I need to quickly save this one. So where do I want to save? Let me create a new folder so that uh, Let me quickly go to my desktop. I want to go to my desktop. I want to create a new folder called class and object. I have created a new folder. Okay, so let me name or save this employee in that. Okay, I am copying my class name. I say file, save as, and I want to save in class and object folder. How do I want to save? I want to say employee.java. Okay, that's it. So now I have my employee.java. Okay, so this is a class, by the way. If I compile, what happens to it? If I compile, what happens to is I want to open my command prompt over here, something like this. I'm maximizing this. Okay, I'm giving the best font that I can give. I can say Java. C. What is the class name? Employee.java. Okay, so here you can see I don't have any compilation problem. Okay, so how do I check if I am able to generate a dot class file? Yes, I am able to generate a dot class file. Here, very important thing, guys, in our analogy, right? What we did till now is to create some blueprint like this. We have created some blueprint like this. Okay, we created some blueprint like this, saying that every employee should have an ID, should have a name, etc., etc. We just have created a blueprint, and we had not created the object yet. By the way, we had not created the object yet. Now, let's quickly see how we can create one employee object. By the way, if I come back to my same notes, I told you that, I told you that, wait, I told you that these are some examples of objects. This is the blueprint. This is the blueprint that I have just created, employee. Okay, but I want to do something like this. Now, this blueprint needs to be created as a object. I want to create objects out of it. So, which means I'm just saying that, okay, I have a employee. What are the properties that an employee would be required? I'm just clear of all these things, but I want the objects also to be created. I want, let's say, let's consider one person came and he filled with these details using Mercy 100 and Google. Other person 200 Angel IBM. Other person 300 Joseph and Apple. I want to create these objects, by the way. How do I do it? Okay, how do I do it? There are three steps in creating objects. There are three steps in creating object. Okay. There are three steps in creating object. Let me quickly go to my PPT so that I can explain it to you better. So I'm here. How do I create the object? Listen carefully, guys. This is very important. Okay. So we have a class called client. Okay. I will be creating. We have already seen example programs of having multiple classes in the single Java file. Okay, maybe I can have a class called client1. Okay, this is a multiple class concept. I can either have in the same Java file or I can have in a different Java file. I will create a new class, something like this. And for this is a very important line or piece of code, which is very important for you. And the whole class and object revolves around this particular point only. The whole Java class and object revolves around this particular point only. How do we create an object? We say new employee. Employee E1 is equal to new employee. Using this line, we'll be creating an object. But this has three internal steps that I'll be speaking about one by one, just in just this slide. Okay. So I was speaking that this is the most important line that we will be learning about today, right? This is the most important line that we'll be learning about today. So you can see this employee E1 is equal to new employee of. Employee E1 is equal to new employee of. What I told you is this line will create something like this. Okay. This line will create something like this, some object like this, it will create. Okay. But as I told you, there are three important points in this. What are those? Let me quickly come and tell you these things. So what are those? The one that the arrow has just gone now, this is the first step, or you can say the first point. The one that is pointing and it is getting highlighted in blue is responsible for creating an object. That piece of code is responsible for creating an object. Okay. Object creation or instantiating the employee class. Okay. So we have two terms now. We have introduced, or you are learning a new term. Okay. That is instantiating employee class, or in other words, you are creating an object for the employee. Okay. This is the one that is responsible for creating an object. But now, then what happens to the other pieces? What happens to equal to and what happens to employee even? What are those required for? Let's quickly see. What is employee even required for? It is required for creating a reference variable. It is required for creating a reference variable, which I'll be speaking about shortly, which I'll be speaking about to you in short time. It is something like we have an object that got created in the heap memory. An object got created in the heap memory, but there are lakhs of objects. Okay, to actually get my object, or to actually have a hook to my object, okay, I would require a reference variable that is called as E1. Okay. Now, what is this equal to? Equal to plays a very important role. Okay. What is that important role? That important role is linking the object with the reference variable. Linking the object with the reference variable. So these three are very, very important points, guys. Let me quickly go and take them in the notes so that you'll be even more clear. So object creation. This is very important. Object creation is done using below of code. So what is that? Employee E1 equal to new employee. New employee of. Okay. New employee of. This is the one. It has three internal steps. Okay. What is my first internal step? What is my first internal step? New employee. Okay. This is responsible for object creation in heap. What is heap, by the way? As I have previously told you, we have a stack area and a heap area in Java. Heap area is the place in the memory, is the place where objects get created and get stored. I'll be showing that to you diagrammatically in some time, but just remember that using this new employee, this part, we will be creating an object and it will be stored in heap. Okay. So what is the next? What is the next bit? Okay. Next bit. Okay. Employee E1. What is this one saying? What is this one saying? This is for creating a creating a reference variable. So if you remember in our 3 or 4 sessions back, we had a separate session only for variable. What was a variable, by the way? Variable is something that can hold some value. I've given you an example of a water bottle that can hold water. Okay. If you remember, I said that the 1 liter water can be held in 5 liter bottle or 10 liter bottle or a 25 liter bottle, whatever. We have to use something efficiently, etc., etc. If you can just think of that session, okay, you can just get yourself refreshed with one thing, that a variable is something that is required for holding some value. Okay, that internally or indirectly we say that employee even this particular line is responsible for creating a reference variable. Okay, creating a reference variable. Now let's go to the third important point. What is that? See, so this is related to the equal to symbol. What is this? This is SR. This is something called assignment operator. Okay, assignment operator. So guys, we have a few operators in Java. Okay, We have something called operands, operators, etc., etc. This is again a simple, or I don't say simple, but it is a topic that requires our attention. I'll be dealing about all the operators that we deal in Java in our upcoming sessions. But just think that this equal to is a assignment operator. Single equal to symbol is a assignment operator. Assignment operator. This is required for. This is required for. What is it required for? It is required for linking object with reference variable. With reference variable. This is required for linking object with a reference variable. Guys, if you feel that you're getting lost, or if you think that this is some information that is going out of my head, do not get bothered. This is something that we'll be dealing every day in our Java classes. And I'll be giving you a short revision also. Do not get carried away. These are very, very simple. These are very, very simple concepts. I'm trying to come to the lowest level that I can and give you the best explanation that I can. Okay. So important point that I wanted to say is by using this particular Java piece of code, we are creating an object. We are creating an object. Okay. This piece of code has three important points. One is new employee of, which is nothing but this one. So this is actually responsible for creating the object in the heap. Okay. Creating the object in the heap. And then there is one more step, which is employee E1. This is nothing but creating the reference variable. And the third step is the assignment operator, which is nothing but equal to symbol. This equal to symbol. What is this equal to symbol saying? Equal to symbol is linking the step number A and B. Like it is linking the object created with the reference variable. Let me quickly write this code. Let me quickly write this code. Okay. I want to create a new class. I'll say control N. I'll say class. I'll say client. I'll say client. Okay. I'll say client. I want to select the language as J and Java. Okay. So I want to quickly open my curly brace and close my curly brace. Okay. I want to write a main method, which is public static void main. Okay. So I want to say string array of arguments. Okay, I have a string array of arguments. I'm opening my curly brace and I'm closing my curly brace. What I did, I just created a new class called client. By the way, we have discussed about the multiple classes in a single Java file. I'm not doing that right now. What I'm doing right now is creating a new class in a new Java file. Let me do something like this. Okay, I want to here I want to create an object. Okay, what I want to do, I want to create employee object. Okay, this is very simple thing that I want to do. There are three steps, right? There are three steps, right? What is the first step? The first step is to create object. So the first step is to create the object. How do I do it? I say new employee of. Okay, with this object is created. With this object is created. I want to just quickly give you a diagrammatic representation of the same. If you remember, I used a software called draw.io. This is just a simple software, guys. Do not get confused what I'm trying to do with this one. Okay, this is just a simple software. I want to give you some explanation of what is happening internally. I'm just taking this small rectangle. And as I told you, there is something called heap. Okay, as I told you, there is something called heap. Okay, this is a memory area in Java. This is heap. Okay, this is heap. So I told you the object gets created in heap. Object gets created in heap. What I did in my code till now, I did something like this. I said new employee of. And in my notes, I told you that this particular line is responsible for creating an object. Okay. So what is my object? Something like this. I will say an object got created. An object got created. This is nothing but an employee object. This is nothing but employee object. As I told you, object will contain all the properties and methods of the class, right? So what are the properties and methods of my class? What are the properties and methods of my class? So these are the ones, right? So what I'll do is I will quickly maybe copy this and I do not want the comments. So let me remove the comments. I'm to remove my comments. Okay, I'm to remove my comments here also. I want to remove my comments. I do not want these, and maybe I don't even want this particular line because it will just confuse me in my diagram. So I have these are the data members, and this is my member function. Okay, I want to copy all this. Okay, I want to copy this and want to put it in my diagram. Okay, same thing, right? So let me copy this and do something like this. Okay. What I want to do over here is paste this one and would like to give an indentation, something like this. Maybe just to not confuse, I want to add a few tabs so that it is inside the object. What I want to illustrate over here is by my new employee, that particular line, the object gets created inside my heap. This is the only thing that I want to explain it to you. Okay, so by the particular line that I have actually shown you, and an object called employee would be created inside heap. Okay, so with this line of code, something like this happens my inside I've written over here. With this line of code from line number 6, whatever I showed you in my diagram, that happens. Now, what was my next step? I have to create, let me quickly go to the notes for your reference. What is my next step? I have to create a reference variable. But if you remember in our variables notes, I've written something like this. We have to first declare the variable and then use it. Without declaring, if you use it, you get a compile time error. So before I use the variable, I just want to declare something like this. Above the employee only, I want to create that reference variable. How do I create? It is employee E1. Okay, I want to create some reference called employee E1. With this line number 5, what happens in my diagram? This is something that happens. It says employee E1. Okay, this is something that happens. I have created a new variable, by the way. I have created a new variable. That's it. So here, if you see, with my line of code that I've written now, there is employee E1 that got created outside my Java heap. It is not inside my Java heap. It is created outside my Java heap. You can think this to be a stack memory. Okay, so it got created. Now inside my heap, there is an object that got created because of my line number 7. Okay, line number 7. Here I want to comment also same create heap reference variable. Okay, create reference variable. This has created a reference variable. This has created an object. Now, what is my third step as per my notes? As per my notes, I have to link both object with the object with the reference variable. How do I do it? I do it using a linkage operator or an assignment operator. How do I do it? I do it something like this: link object with reference variable. So how do I link? I link it using the equal to operator. It is something like equal to E1 equal to the object. E1 equal to the object. Line number 8 is responsible for creating the object. Right? I want to bring it from this point to this point. Okay, I want to bring it from this point to this point. So E1 equal to new employee. This particular line will be responsible for linkage. This particular line will be responsible for linkage. I just want to okay, let me not remove it because compiler obviously ignores my comments. Okay, when I save this one, I want to save this one as client.java. Say I copied the class name. I'm doing this file save as and do this. Sorry. It is over here .java, client.java. Okay, I'm able to save it properly as client.java. I created something like this. Because of this line number 10, what will happen? There is a linkage that happens between this reference variable and then the object. Let me try to link both of them. Let me try to link both of them. Okay. There is this object employee, and this is getting linked with this is getting so a second. This is getting linked with my object. Okay, this is getting linked with my object. That's it. This is so simple, guys. Now, my first piece of line with that step, an object got created in the heap, and I have a reference variable. For me to access that, I need to have a linkage. This linkage is provided to me using the equal to operator. Using the equal to operator. Okay, using the equal to operator. Now I have the object created. Now, what I want to quickly tell you is, I think we are almost getting towards the end, but I want to quickly cover just a little bit more so that we can wind up. What do I want to do is, now I told you that we have a few properties in our object, right? I want to see if I can access those properties or not. If I can access those properties or not. What are the properties, by the way? The properties are ID, name, and company. The properties are ID, name, and company. Okay, let me quickly go here. Okay, let me quickly go here. Or before I do it, I want to quickly go to my notes and say, how do I access? How do I access class properties or methods can be directly accessed with reference variable. Okay, we can directly access using the reference variable. This is a very important point. Let me quickly try to uh, prove that particular point to you. So what do I want? I want to say something like this. I want to check if I am able to do it or not. Okay, I want to till now what happened, guys, in our actual example. In our actual example, we have a blank paper. Now I want to do something like this only this part. ID equal to 100, name equal to Mercy, company equal to Google. Okay, this is what I want to do. E1 E1 dot sorry E1 dot ID equal to, let's say, 100. Okay, E1 dot what is this name equal to, what is this, Mercy, and I want to say dot E1 dot company equal to Google. Okay, let me put that inside a string. E1.company equal to Google. Okay, I am assigning a few things over here. Because of my line number 11, 12, and 13, what will happen? What will happen to my diagram, guys? Let me quickly go to my diagram. If you remember, I told you that initially these will be given some default values. Okay, what will be the default values? Default value for int is 0. Okay, default value for the name is null, and default value for the string again company becomes null. Okay, default value. Now, because of my lines of code that I have written, these will be modified into 100 because I have made the employee ID as 100. Now, what else can be done over here? This will be made as Mercy. Okay, and then company is made as Google. Okay, company is made as Google. Okay, company is made as Google. Okay, this is what had happened because of my assignment that I have done in my line numbers 11 to 14. I want to quickly cross check. I want to quickly cross check. So how do I do it? I do something like the system dot out dot println. I want to do system dot out dot println. How do I say? I want to print these things. E1 dot ID I want to print something like this. Event.id equal to, I want to print it event.id. Okay. So let me do the same thing for the others also. I just copied this piece of line and then I copied the same thing and I'm pasting event.name. I want to paste the event.name. Here I want to check the event.name. And this one is event.company. This is event.company. And then this is event.company. So that's it. Nothing else. I do not want to do anything else right now. The simple thing that I did is I created an object using these steps. Okay. And I'm trying to see what, I have assigned a few values to my object. And I'm trying to see if these values assigned are properly retrieved or not. I want to print what are the values that I have assigned. For this, I want to quickly compile both employee class and client class and see how we can run that. Okay. So what is that? We have already compiled Java C employee.java. Now I want to compile Java C client.java. Okay. I want to compile this Java C client.java. I don't have any problem whatsoever. My Java C, my client.java file also got compiled. Now I want to print or I want to run. I want to run my Java file, my client. Okay. So here you can see, guys, we have the values 100, we have the values Mercy, we have the values Google. That's it. We have the values 100, Mercy, and Google. But before this, let me just go little bit backward. I want to just go little bit backward and want to prove one more point to you. What is that? As I initially told you, the default value for int is 0, default value for name is null, default value for company is null. Let me quickly see if that is true or not. What I want to do is, I want to comment out line number 11. I want to comment out line number 12. I want to comment out line number 13. So what I'm actually telling the compiler is, hey compiler, I'm not giving any initial values, but you tell me what values these are. Okay, you tell me what values these are. So I'm saving this and want to run this once more, want to compile this once more. I'm just saying clear. Okay, so Java C, this is client.java. So when I do this, there's no problem in compilation. It is Java client. When I see the default values are 0, null, and null. The same thing that I have explained in the diagram also. 0, 0, null, and null. So these things I have overwritten or I have actually given the values of 100, Mercy, and Google. Okay, 100, Mercy, and Google. This is the same thing that I have given, and we are able to see that linkage over here. Okay, we are able to see that linkage over here. Okay, so I think we have covered a lot of things in our class today, guys. Okay.
Karthik, can you create one more object and feed the value?
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. I thought of continuing in tomorrow's class, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay, but it's your call. Yeah, sorry.
I thought that we are already in this time, so
Sure,
that's fine.
then I think we can close. Yeah, just
No.
yeah.
I think Shashi, it's good that we have 2 more points left. Calling the method and then creating multiple objects.
No. I
Yeah.
think we can cover tomorrow only, Karthik. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Fine.
yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute.